beat by Carolina, Joe.
Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.
He has time. He's got left side. Touch is there. Leaping right.
Total Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.
He has time. He's got left side. Touch is there. Leaping grab. Touchdown. Touchdown.
Good morning. I think Restream needed some coffee.
I was going to say, what the hell was going on with that?
Yeah, Restream needs a little coffee in the morning, it looks like. Okay, we lost Joe. Let's bring in Joe. There we go. So we all got our morning Joe, including Joe, except for Ken, because he doesn't drink coffee. He's communist. Coffee. Even though he's got the coffee guy over there with him. All right, well, hey, it's Hump Day. It's the middle of the week. NFL Week 5 starts tomorrow. But we couldn't have a Week 4 end without, well, another big news story. Because, you know, it's the season. All right, Joe. Davante Adams, what's up?
I mean, I don't know.
Yesterday it wasn't a thing, Joe. Today it's a thing.
I thought that was funny how it happened to work out right after.
Yeah, bro. You said it yesterday. When you guys stopped talking about it, and then he came out and like he was watching the show.
Yeah. But the thing is you know, I've always taken him at his word. You know, so if he says there's no reason to talk about it, then I'm going to take him at his word. He said he wanted to be a Raider. And then, you know, yesterday, apparently he changed his mind or whatever. Like, I mean, really, the writing, I guess looking back at it, the writing was on the wall after that Carolina game, you know, because AP called him out. I understood exactly who he was talking about when he said that some players were making business decisions. Like, he's talking about Davante dropping balls that he should catch because he doesn't want to take the hits. He's talking about not chasing down the defender after he makes an interception. Those are business decisions, right? And, like, he also was calling out Jack Jones a little bit, and he benched Jack Jones for a quarter. But I'll be honest with you, I don't buy the whole Davante has a hamstring injury thing. I think
I was going to ask you that. That was my next question. Is his injury?
Yeah, I don't think Davante's injured at all. I think it was the way that the organization could suspend him for a week or bench him for a week without making it, you know.
Yeah, they said he was day to day on the injury. I noticed that he's.
Well, they said he was week to week.
Yeah.
Like, so think about that. Like, he's week to week. To me, that means, well, if you have another week like you did in Carolina, like, we're going to bench you again. And I think Davante's like, well, forget that. You know, I would rather get traded. And which is fine because, number one, he's a luxury that we can't afford. You know, we're not going to be competing for Super Bowls this year. So if we could get potentially a good player for our offensive line or
wait. You're writing off the season already?
No, I'm not writing off the season. I'm just saying realistically, come on, dude, we're not going to be Gardner Minshew is not taking us to the Super Bowl, man. Like,
why not?
I think we could make the playoffs if everything goes right. I think we could make the playoffs, but like he's not beating Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. He's not. He's never shown to be that, and our offensive line is not terribly great. Like we're starting 2 rookies on the offensive line. Although I think the rookies are actually playing better than the veterans. To be honest with you, Colton Miller's had kind of a rough season. At this point, I just say like send Devontae to Carolina and get what you can get, dude. Like I'm not sending him to the Jets. I'm not sending him where he wants to go. Devontae can lick my nuts.
Maybe get a quarterback from Carolina.
Well, see, I don't really want Bryce Young. Like, I think he's just his problems. I think Andy Dalton has showed that it's a Bryce Young problem as much as it's a Carolina problem. Actually, what I would like to do if I was the Raiders GM, I would call Atlanta and I would say, "Hey, Adams for Penix straight up." Like, I know they won't do it because he's their ace in the hole, but as a GM, you got to make that call. I at least make the phone call to say that I tried. You know.
You want to trade player for player, huh?
I would say Dom said they'll send you Kirk Cousins for him.
We'd eat that $180 million cap.
Kirk Cousins. You don't want Cousins, do you?
I don't want Cousins. I want
Black Dak Prescott, man. Come on.
So here's the other piece of this, though.
Good morning.
Devontae's an interesting trade problem right now. It's probably a little too early this season. No one's in that, okay, I'm a buyer or I'm a seller mode yet. B, his contract for next year is problematic in a trade at $45 million cap hit. So anyone who's going to make that trade has got to be able to re-sign him where they can restructure that $45 million cap hit, or the Raiders have to eat that somehow in the compensation in the trade. So I don't think we're going to see Devontae move this week. I mean, it's too early.
Is he worth a one?
Well, actually, Ken, just to clarify, from what I read this morning, the team that trades for him the next 2 years there's no guaranteed money on it. So whatever team that trades for him could actually cut him, and they wouldn't be on the hook for any dead cap whatsoever over the next 2 years.
That dead cap's going to stay with the Raiders then.
Yeah, pretty much. From what I gather, either the dead cap will stay with the Raiders, or I don't. But yeah, the team that assumes his contract will not take on any dead cap if they choose to cut him.
Look at Luca representing in Budapest again this morning.
Yeah, he is.
I'm in Prague now.
Oh, now you're in Prague. Oh,
bro,
we're sorry,
Yeah,
Mr.
they're
Jet
going
Hat.
all over.
Jeez, yeah.
Are you a spy? So you a fucking spy, bro?
Well, I just decided this morning to hop on a train and head over here.
Yeah, you fucking spy.
I was like, I can't stay in one city. I can't stay
hear
in
Czech
one
women
place
are beautiful.
too long. They might catch me.
Yeah, they are.
They are.
But I'm at all the tourist stuff right now.
Tour, man.
You can see.
God, Luca, you got a good life, buddy.
Yeah, one of the oldest bridges. I thought I'd just come in and just kind of, humble brag.
No.
I don't know how humble it is, but
Well, actually, you know what though? I mean, it's not a bad time. This is probably a good time of year to be a tourist because it's not tourist season, but
Yeah, it's not in the summertime.
How are the costs? Because I've been winding. Last time I was in Europe, we were in Athens in 2020, right when COVID started to kick. How are the prices?
Oh. They're still pretty good. I mean, it's not as cheap as it used to be, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah, I need to make my way back over across the line.
And I did get one Skull Vikings from some random person, so that was cool.
What?
Nice.
So
Yeah,
I'll let you guys get on with your football podcast.
Yeah, you don't stick out like an American in a foreign country decked out in NFL gear. No, not at all. No.
Soccer.
No. Yeah. You must be.
All right, gentlemen.
You You must be a Juventus fan wearing Vikings gear.
All right. I'm probably just ruining a bunch of people's pictures by walking around.
Hey, damn American tourist. Enjoy your time, brother. We'll see you when you get home.
Yeah. You guys take care. Stay blessed.
All right.
Bye.
Hey, Matt, I'm my own barber.
Bro, I love it. We got jet setting fucking watchers, bro. I love it.
I haven't been back here. Just flying to Europe is so expensive.
That's mine.
There's not a chance. There's not a chance in hell that Devontae goes to the Chiefs, Tyler.
And he's not worth a one. Are you saying there, Matt Henry? He's not worth a one.
Second plus additional compensation.
A two plus something else.
You know why they did that? Because they're hoping to start a bidding war.
Yeah.
Lowballed, the offer, a second in compensation, like they're trying to work it up to a first. I guarantee it.
Devontae
and there's no way that they're going to trade. There's no way that they're going to trade him to Kansas City.
Devontae to Buffalo. I don't know.
We're going to say that
if they trade Devontae to Kansas City, I would stop being a Raider fan.
Oh my God!
I don't see the Raiders. I don't even see the Raiders trading him within the conference.
Yeah, but I'm saying to Kansas City, like you're basically bending over and saying, "You here, come fuck me." Like I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't be able to support a team that was that incompetent.
The 49ers have the cap space for Devontae too, with all the other shit. I can't.
Well, actually, so what I read was that any team that's looking to acquire him would only actually have to have about $13 million in cap space.
Really?
So you could do a couple restructures and make that happen.
And as the week goes on, that becomes less and less, right? Because he's making like what a mil a game or whatever. So that hit goes down. But I mean, there are certain teams we could probably safely say he won't go to. Minnesota, they're probably feeling okay in their wide receiving room. Chicago probably wouldn't look at them with the three they've got. Miami probably wouldn't try to get them. There are a couple teams we can rule out because they probably feel okay with their wide receiving room, and that's not what they need to make an addition. Teams, though, it would be interesting if he did go to Minnesota. They could, I guess, go with they would then have a legit three-headed monster, and they'd have two of the best receivers in the game in Minnesota.
No way they could afford both those guys, man. That'd be crazy.
It would be crazy, but look at with Kwesi. Crazy's his middle name, man. So maybe, or his first name, but the guy seems to make crazy shit work all the time. I wouldn't put it past Kwesi to make that happen. The Commanders would be interesting.
Dallas is a team that I've heard floated. The Commanders is a team that I've heard floated. The Lions have an outside shot that I've seen them talked about.
But I would discount the Vikings completely because it kind of, the reason I say is we just heard what Brady said last weekend about basically it came down to Chicago or Tampa. And people are like, what? No one even heard about Chicago at that time when he was deciding where to go. So that's why I wouldn't rule the Vikings out because you just don't know, man. These guys will make crazy shit work. Could you imagine Devontae with JJ?
Yeah, the Green Bay was trying to do that, and that's why the Vikings jumped in front of us in the first round and took them.
Could you imagine it? The Lions would be interesting too. That would, they would be. Obviously, anywhere Devontae goes, if he's going to a decent team, they're now a heck of a lot better.
I would send him to Jacksonville.
Jax, I think, is going to be a seller. I think Jacksonville is going to be a seller this year. For some reason.
Yeah, I'm just saying I would send him to Jacksonville.
I'll take Josh Allen if they want to get rid of him.
It's he wants to go be a part of a team. He wants to go try to jump on a team and win a Super Bowl. Go to the worst team in the league.
Yeah.
Go languish for the rest of your career in Jacksonville.
Tampa would be interesting too.
Damn, Joe. There's no love for Devontae no more. It's like you look at it. Look at it.
To be honest with you,
hatred in his eyes.
Dude, to be honest with you, I've been saying it for the last couple weeks already that Devontae has been underperforming. Like he's, I think AP said it perfectly. He's been making business decisions. And for me, if you're not all in as a Raider, like if you don't want to be a Raider, I don't want you here. Like get the fuck on, go somewhere else, And I won't even miss you when you're gone. Like Josh Jacobs, lick my nuts. Devontae Adams, you're a whole bitch.
Washington actually is interesting because they probably
bring that shit on Sunday morning, Joe.
They probably would give up a second-round pick, and they've got a pretty decent offensive line. Their defense is playing really well.
Joseph. Very bitter.
Gary Terry with Devontae would actually be really good for Daniels. I mean, I could definitely see why Washington would have to be in that conversation.
Oh, absolutely.
Jacksonville's a seller. I think we're going to look. I think if the Bears make a trade, it's going to be with Jacksonville, and we're going to try to get something off that offensive line. Like we're going to try to get some line help out of Jacksonville.
Well, they have three starting caliber tackles.
Yeah,
they have three starting caliber offensive tackles. One guy's the odd man out, so you could make a trade for one of their offensive tackles.
Yeah, well, we're going to convert that tackle to a guard. Is what we're going to do because we need help in the guards. Right, left, not as much as long as Jenkins. Well, left to a degree because Jenkins can't seem to stay healthy. But I mean, I think Jacksonville's selling some stuff this year. They're not buying, so I would rule them out for Devontae.
Tyler putting it out there for you, Joe.
Well, except for the fact that like the Raiders did everything they could to try to get a quarterback this last year. It's not incompetence. You just can't force other people to trade with you. So, nobody knew that Atlanta was going to take a quarterback at 8 with Cousins already on the roster. So
yeah,
I don't think it's as much incompetence or not being good as just the draft just didn't shake out our way, dude.
Why did they move on from Carr?
That was because of the head coach.
It was because of McDaniels.
Yeah,
because McDaniels felt like he I think what it was is he was secretly courting Tom Brady and he was hoping that Brady would come be his quarterback, and then when that didn't pan out, it's like, oh well, I got rid of Tyler. What do you not understand? You can't force people to trade with you. The Raiders offered 3 first-round draft picks plus to the Commanders for that pick. They wouldn't do it, and you can't force people to trade with you.
McDaniels has killed 2 franchises as a head coach. He killed Denver, and now he killed the Raiders. He set the Raiders back about 5-6 years. Because look what happened with Denver. They're still recovering to a degree. I mean, he just kills franchises. Is what he does. And it's like,
no.
If Carr was still a Raider, they wouldn't be happy this year. But
he's having a pretty good year. Having a good year.
Yeah.
I just thought they moved on from him because they thought he was done, but he's clearly not done, man. He's not. That's shocking.
I mean, I don't know. Do the Raiders maybe get to that point where they're kind of like in that weird middle ground, right? They're not trash, but they're not good either. Do they just start selling pieces off if they trade Devontae? Because they're like, look, we just need to suck for a year. Like we need a quarterback, so let's just sell off some pieces that isn't the pieces that won't last 3 to 5 years. Put it that way. So you're going to keep Crosby, you're going to keep Browers, you're going to keep certain guys in that roster, but then you're going to make a lot of guys in that roster available that you might not normally make available because you might just say, this can be like a 2 or 3 year process. So this guy, it's not worth me paying him this because by the time I get to where I need to be, he's not going to be worth it. Is that what the Raiders might be looking at right now?
I don't think so. I think the Raiders have a good young core of players. I think that their drafting has gotten better over the last year or two. They have like Jacorian Bennett, for example. His rookie year was absolutely terrible. This year, he's the best corner on 3rd down in the NFL. Like he's stripping the ball out. Like, he's made significant improvements. They have a core of young guys: Trey Tucker, DJ Turner, guys that maybe don't light up the stat sheet because they don't get
I'm
the ball
talking
as
about the
much.
guys who are like year 4 or have been re-signed. Like, start moving away from those guys. Go.
I mean, the only real
continue a youth
candidate for that
movement.
is like Jacoby Myers. Like,
Yeah,
you could get rid of Jacoby Myers, but he's been performing. So, like, I think
but he's
you
not
should
going to
keep
be
him.
there for the rebuild, though. So, like, why not just get rid of him, get more draft capital, and then get a new quarterback and some young receivers, or
Because
cheaper options?
I think we're closer to competing than we are to stripping it down. I
Okay.
think there's enough there. There's enough of a foundation there that it's just a matter of we need a few more pieces. We need an offensive lineman. We need a quarterback. Like, next year, I expect they're going to go all in for a quarterback.
Yeah, Crosby's going nowhere, Tyler. Yeah, Crosby.
Echo.
Tell us you're at the same location without telling us you're at the same location.
Okay, we are good now.
Okay. I mean,
Crosby isn't
Max,
going anywhere.
he's not going anywhere, dude. That guy is not leaving the room. I don't know. It's like I don't see, though, if they do trade Devontae. I think it's out of conference. I don't think it's Buffalo. I think it's going to be out of conference because you don't want to see the guy every year or have the chance to see him every year. If you keep him in the conference, now you're looking at playoffs. You're looking at regular season games against them. You're definitely out of division. But I think they're out of the conference unless someone way overpays. Like, if Buffalo wants them, they're gonna have to way overpay. I mean, one of those situations. I think he's better off, or that he'll end up in the NFC again. And there's some interesting places he could end up.
I think he's going to end up where whoever gives us the highest draft pick is where he's going to end up. That's what I think. I don't think Devontae, there's talk, people are saying like that the Raiders are going to, keep Devontae involved in the process and, basically, out of respect, they're going to send him to a contender. I say, fuck that. I say, don't give him respect because he hasn't given you respect. Like, he's shit on your team, basically. Like, let's just be honest, for the last season and a half, every week, all it's been is Devontae happy? Does Devontae want to leave? That shit doesn't come out of nowhere, dude. Like, and I denied that. I said it for a long time, like, oh no, there's no truth to it, because Devontae said there was no truth to it, right? I took him at his word, but now his word means shit. So, like, to me, send him wherever you can get the most draft or the highest draft pick.
I mean, the Commanders make a lot of sense because they have the capital, and they're actually a lot more competitive than we thought. They might make a move like that. But Arizona is interesting that Matt brings up. I mean, Arizona, very interesting. I mean, and putting him with Marvin Harrison Jr., I think from their standpoint, even if it doesn't translate immediately into wins, it might translate into better play out on Marvin Harrison Jr., like as far as him learning and becoming an NFL receiver. That might be a good move there as well. Arizona is a good dark horse.
It's good for Devontae and it's good for Arizona, like, definitely. Yeah. And it's good. It's really good for Marvin Harrison because Devontae is going to draw double teams and Harrison's going to be wide open all the time.
Other teams that actually in the West Coast want to just keep it out that way. LA's not a bad. The Rams could be an option too. Could you imagine him with Puka when Puka comes back, and that receiving core would be pretty tight, adding Devontae in with that mix, and with Stafford's ability to not need any offensive line at all, he would feed Devontae enough. That would be an interesting place for him to end up too, is LA.
If it's me, I'm sending him to the team where he's going to make the least impact so that he, like, I'm not going to send him to a team where he's going to put him over the top and then our pick is going to be at the bottom of the round. I'm going to send him somewhere where hit like Carolina, where he might help them win an extra 2 games, but they're still finishing 5 and
But
12.
I don't think Carolina's not going to want to make a trade because they want the draft.
Hold on.
Oh,
Jesus. I don't think
that's terrible.
he's trying to make it look like he's in a different location, even though they're in the same house. That's wonderful.
Ain't this like
I don't think Carolina's making a trade. They want their draft capital because they're trying to rebuild. Devontae doesn't help them do that. The only teams that are going to want to trade for Devontae are teams where he's going to make an impact, Joe. Like, Arizona, if they think they can make a run, or the Rams can make a run, or Washington can make a run and get in the playoffs, those are the teams that are going to want to pay to get Devontae. Jacksonville is going to pay for Devontae.
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying I'm trying to maximize the value that I get for him. And Tyler, Devontae doesn't have to agree to go to a place like Carolina. He doesn't have a no trade clause in his contract. He can be sent wherever we send him. Like, he can decide not to restructure with them, but I mean, whatever, that's fine. Like,
Yeah, the only way that he'd have any type of leverage there is if he came out into the media and said, I absolutely refuse to play for this team, and if you're trading me there, I will sit out the rest of the year. But that's only going to massively tarnish his image more.
Yep.
Yeah, so Devontae, we'll keep an eye on this developing story. But we are going to get to that point now, I would say, because the trade deadline's what, mid-November?
November 5th.
So, yeah, we're getting to – we'll start seeing some trades in the next 2 weeks probably. Probably nothing this week, next week.
I think the trade's going to be completed by Monday.
You think by Monday he's gone?
I think so. I wouldn't be surprised if he's out of here by the end of the week. Like, I think the Raiders are looking to move on, and they want it to be as little of a distraction as possible. And, I think they're going to try to get it done quickly.
I heard Atlanta, so I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I said that I would call Atlanta and I'd be like, hey, Penix for Adams straight up, dude. Like,
I wouldn't give you Penix.
I wouldn't give him Penix either.
I'd give you Kirk.
I didn't say Atlanta was gonna do it. I just said I would.
We raised Mooney's level a little bit. We'll ship you Mooney for him.
As a GM, you have to make that phone call. Like, whether they laugh in your face or not, you have to make that phone call. Like, I was on Reddit last night. I was in the NFL sub, and there was Kansas City fans that were like, oh, he can be had if the price is right. And I had to be the one to break it to him. Like, the price is Mahomes. Like, there's no way that the Raiders are going to trade
in the division, the price is Mahomes, right? Oh,
yeah,
you want him?
Mahomes.
Yeah.
Like, and I actually was fair about it. I was like, I didn't joke, because they were like, oh, if we call the Raiders, they're just going to laugh and hang up in our face. And I was like, actually, I wouldn't. I'd say, look, Mahomes for Adams in our next 2 firsts. Like, we'll make a deal. Obviously it's a non-starter, so you're gonna, you guys can laugh in my face and hang up, but that's the deal. Like, there's nothing you have that we want besides Mahomes. Like, because we're just not gonna trade with you.
I don't know. Washington, though, does make the most sense as far as what they have to spend. They've got cap space. They got capital. Carolina doesn't make sense to me. Buffalo, I don't think they trade him within the AFC. Arizona could be a good dark horse. So could the Rams, possibly. Minnesota, I wouldn't put it past Quezzy to try to do something. Because remember, he's also looking at possibly losing Addison for a minute. And if they think, well, look, man, we're 4-0. This could put us over the top for this season. Fuck next year, right? They don't care about winning this year. So if he's like, I'd be interested to see if Quezzy would make a move and bring him back to the NFC North. I wouldn't put it past him.
Yeah. You think Packer fans are upset when he wanted to get traded out? Oh my God, they'd come unglued if he went to Minnesota.
Oh yeah, well the whole North would come unglued.
Yeah, he's not going there.
Well, I wouldn't say he's not.
Go to the Steelers.
I mean, the Steelers are interested in him.
But once again, though, I don't think the Raiders would want to trade him within conference.
I honestly don't think that they care. I think they'd rather just get him out of town. As long as it's not in division, here you go. Go on your way, buddy.
I mean, look, if I could trade him, let's say it's Minnesota or it's let's just say for sake of argument, Minnesota and Pittsburgh. Well, if you want a Pittsburgh, you're gonna have to pay a lot more than Minnesota is. You're gonna have to overpay to have him play in the conference where I have to see him every year or in the playoffs, right? I mean, I would say that I wouldn't say he won't go to an AFC team, but I would say that if the Raiders had their druthers about it, they'd rather send him to an NFC team where their odds of them having to face him are significantly less. Right? So, like, all things being equal, if I have two teams interested and they're offering the same thing, I'm going to send them to the NFC team and not the AFC. So
yeah,
I mean,
if they have the chance, I could see them preferring an NFC team. But I think if there's almost any type of team not wanting to meet up to what the Raiders are asking, they'll gladly ship them to the AFC.
Like in the AFC outside of the West, what teams are possible? Because one team that would have been like, ooh, would have been the Chargers, but nope, into the division, forget that idea. You got Buffalo, you got Pittsburgh, you got the Jets. Who else in the AFC? And then what do they have to offer?
Baltimore.
You don't trade it to Buffalo, though.
Baltimore.
You don't do that.
Yeah, Baltimore. I don't know what. But then you have to look at those teams. What do they have to offer? That's things to the AFC. Saints. Oh, I bet he'd love to go to the Saints.
Oh, Lord.
That's a good call, Mike.
Yeah.
Boy, him and Carr, man. And the Saints aren't bad. That's a good call because the Saints, they could deal apart with some contracts with some. I mean, yeah, they're kind of in cap hell though themselves. They'd have to work some stuff, but
well, shit, you package Taysom Hill into that trade.
No, they would never do that.
I was gonna say
they would never trade Tyson Hill. Hill. That's like playing Raiders fan. You're gonna trade Crosby.
Oh, I like that he did.
Yeah.
No, they wouldn't trade Hill. But yeah, the Saints are an interesting destination. I think he's got more destinations in the NFC than the AFC that he could possibly go to. And teams that have the capital to actually make a move. Buffalo is hard because of their cap issue as well. That's what makes Buffalo hard. I'm not sure where the Jets are with theirs, but that might be a little bit. That would be wow if it happened. I don't know if they can make it happen. I don't know if the Jets want to make it happen with their season right now.
I don't think Devontae want to go to an old team though. Like,
like in JB.
Yeah, they'd have to. They would definitely have to massage that cap space because they are in a cap out. They would have to do some things. But the Saints, actually, yeah. I mean, if you look at the NFC South, they make
that would make the Saints legit. I mean, they're already pretty good. They're already pretty good, bro. But
I think he would be happy about that trade too. That'd be a location he'd be happy about because Carr is there.
Yeah, give us Olave and a pick, and we're good.
Holy shit!
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah. I'd work Olave.
Give us Olave and a pick.
Even if you gave them Devontae plus a pick, I don't think they're giving you Olave.
Well, why don't you just trade straight up Olave for Devontae?
Yeah, I don't think they're taking that.
Why not?
Olave's got a hell of a lot more to his career, and he already looks like a damn good receiver. Yeah, they can send you Rattler.
Just saying, man, you get rid of the problem. Maybe you give him a pick. How'd we lose Ken?
Send him to the Browns for Jameis Winston and a pick.
Jameis Winston and a pick?
Yeah.
Come on, Winston.
Hey, I take him.
I think Winston actually has improved
He's like one of
somewhat.
the worst quarterbacks ever.
Not really.
He's been better.
He's been
I don't
better
think
since he played for the Saints. And
I don't think it. Look at with this trade. I don't think you're really getting.
Is he playing for somebody? Is he a backup somewhere?
yeah, he's a backup in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Winston is a backup in Cleveland.
Why aren't they playing him over Watson?
Because they're
Watson
paying
has a
Watson a
guaranteed
shit ton of
contract.
money.
So what, man? I mean, the writing's on the wall. Move on, or just. I mean, they're gonna keep losing. He fucking sucks. I didn't even.
But that's why I said call the Browns and say, "Hey, dude, give us Winston and a pick."
I don't think Winston's
I
the
don't
answer
think.
anyway.
I don't think they're getting a player per se. I think at this point,
Chase Young and a second for Devontae. Chase Young.
I think at this point, a team that's going to take them is a team that's going to want to just give up picks because they want to add them to the personnel group they've already got. So I mean, this whole idea of like with the Saints, like dude, the Saints aren't giving you Olave. They're not going to give you Hill. They're going to give you draft picks and that's it. And then they're going to create some cap space. I mean, Washington, they're just going to give you picks. Even if you stay in conference, you're not getting a player back because they want to add him to what they've got. They don't have unless they have like going back to Jacksonville, which probably isn't a buyer. Unless you're Jacksonville and have 3 tackles and you have an odd man out that you could part ways with, right? That's not going to hurt your chances. There's not a player going to be involved. I mean, Chase Young and a second for Devontae. Yeah.
See, I think Winston makes perfect sense because you're not using him anyway. Like, the Raiders.
This year.
I think Winston would start in Vegas. I think he's better than
Winston will be starting in Cleveland as soon as they figure out a way to avoid that contract of the Watson. I think that's what's going on. Honestly, I think that's what's going on in Cleveland. Like, if they're going to run Watson out there and let him get in trouble so they can void the contract somehow, find a way to avoid it so they can just get – I think that's one reason he's starting is they're trying to find a way to get rid of him.
God damn, JB. Like an OnlyFans girl.
Well, Dom was saying that Jameis Winston is actually on the trading block.
Yeah, not a problem.
That's because he sucks. He sucks. I'm telling you, he sucks. Joe, you don't want him. You don't want him, Joe. You don't want him.
Dude, I like Winston's style. Like Winston is a risk taker, and I think he's perfect. He's perfect. Yeah, he throws interceptions, but he's perfect for the offense that we're trying to run. Like, because he can throw the deep ball, and we have deep threats. And I think Winston could actually do well.
Would he be enough to keep Devontae? Would he be enough to chill him out so he'd fucking act right?
I don't. At this point, I think Devontae getting traded is writing on the wall. Like he's out of there.
Yeah, because he's not. Because he doesn't believe in the quarterback. If you guys got a quarterback in there, he would shut up.
Well, look,
I'm with Joe. I think it's gone too far now to walk it back.
Look, you can just trade him to Green Bay for Jordan Love because we all know Malik Willis, who's 2-0 in Green Bay, is the starter there now, and just trade him for Love.
Trade Caleb Williams.
No, I'm just feeding into the whole part of the Packer base that wants Willis to be the starter and Love to be on the bench.
Oh, dude, I have seen so many posts of that. I want to bash my freaking head off the wall.
Hey, you
seriously say that shit?
You should go into those Packer pages where you're seeing that. Say, hey, what if we trade Love for Devontae and then see what kind of response you get from them?
No,
I'm gonna do it.
I can't say dumb shit like that.
Look at that.
I'm gonna channel my inner Nick here.
Yeah.
There's no fucking way. JB, I know you don't like him. And crab legs is probably the best part of the deal.
Honestly, I think Jameis would do well in Vegas. I think
I just don't see it, man.
I think he would do well in Vegas.
Speaking of Eddie Lacy,
he's already been on in his short career. How many teams? What is he on his fourth?
The Bay, the Saints, the Browns. I think 3 teams.
3, 4. And how many years? Like 6 years?
But yes.
Look at all the Packer fans reacting now in the comments of something they were talking about, joking. Like, oh my God, you can't be serious. No, we're not serious. But there's a bunch of Packer fans out there who are being stupid saying Willis should be the starter over Love.
Oh, yeah.
So, you throw out this whole Devontae trade to them like that just to shut them up. Because I think once you tell them that, well, hey, we'll make that trade, then they'll be like, well, no, man, because Love is so great. Well, then after you make that proposal and they're like, oh, well, Love is so good.
Trade there, man.
They're not going to do that.
How about Trevor Lawrence? You don't want Trevor
to
Lawrence?
say it, but Rob was trying to talk over me on. I'm like, look,
I don't think that the Jag and I don't think the Raiders would want Lawrence.
The reason why Packer fans, the reason why you say it is to shut all these people up who want Willis to be the starter over Love. I don't think the Packers would ever make the trade, but it shut these people like, oh, Willis should be the starter over Love. That would shut them up pretty quick when you try to make that trade. That's never going to happen, but it's hilarious. You should do it, Ken. Do it.
I'm just saying he's going to Atlanta. Y'all just need to stop the talking.
I was going to say that'll give some pretty good engagement.
Yeah, but what do the Rams have to offer us?
Too. It's just me draft capital. That's all you're getting from anyone is draft capital. Mm-hmm. That's it. You're getting picks. That's all you're getting, dude. Picks.
Maybe the Chargers.
Yeah, but they're not trading him in the division.
No, not in the division. Not in the division. No.
You give Herbert that weapon, it's over.
I know, bro. They don't have good weapons there other than
the running back's good. The dual running back, Dobbs and Edwards, they're performing this year.
It has to be out of trash. For the Raiders, its preferences would be NFC, then conference, outside of division. That's their trade. Got to be there. And the division's a non-starter. It's got to be a non-starter unless like you're can't see. We'll give you Mahomes. Well, okay, but I mean, you have to, if it's someone in division, the offer has to be the overpayment would have to be so huge you'd almost negate the idea of even making a trade.
What about Pittsburgh?
Actually, there's another trade. Like, I mean, I don't think that he's going to be traded, but I saw yesterday that Justin Herbert was visibly frustrated with his teammates, and like that would be a trade that I would consider. Like, I would give up Adams and some picks and take Herbert. And Harbaugh is not the type of guy that's completely against getting rid of his quarterback and starting over. Like, I'm not saying it would happen, but I'm just saying that I would make that call too. I'd say, hey, what if we give you Adams and our next 2 firsts and you give us Herbert? Like,
the Steelers actually is a situation where you could get a player. It'd be ironic. They could give you because their draft capital, I don't think they have as strong as a hand because they've already given something away for next year. But they could give you Russ and a pick.
I don't want Russ. I would rather have Fields.
I don't think they're going to give you Fields.
I know they're not going to give us Fields, but that's what it's going to take. Like, because trading him for draft capital doesn't get you closer to a quarterback. Like, I'm like, if you want to, I would put it to the Steelers like this: you still have Russ. Like, give us Fields. You still have Russ, and now you have Devontae to add to Russ. Like, it's a good situation for you, and it's a good situation for us.
It's not a good situation for anybody that starts Russ.
I mean, Herbert's not a winning QB at the end of the day, so I don't know what's the fascination with losing QBs and teams going to get them.
Yeah, but in the division, it's not going to happen anymore.
He's a franchise quarterback. You don't trade that.
Not Daniel Jones, dude. Anybody but Danny Dimes.
Yeah, I don't think the Raiders make that trade either. Daniel Jones in a second for Devontae.
Well, I mean, AP is a Giants guy. He might be partial to.
But from the Giants standpoint, look at the Giants. I think the Giants head shed's actually okay with Danny right now. I don't think they're looking to move on, especially they're competitive right now. So they're not looking. That's a problem. Like, there aren't many teams right now who are going to really overpay in a buyer's mode because it's so early. So the weird thing happening right now is hurting the Raiders because while the market may be expanded, the price is going to be lower than if it's closer to the trade deadline when those teams are really trying to make the push.
I don't know if it's going to be lower because Devontae still has a market, and there's going to be several teams in on him. And I think what the Raiders are trying to do by asking for a lower price is to trigger a bidding war, and they're just going to try to get the highest bid.
But like teams like New York, though, they're not going to give you Danny. They're not going to give you their starting quarterback. I guess that's more of what I'm trying to say is
I don't want Danny.
Ideas, right? But I'm just saying in general, like some of these guys, with a player, I don't think any of these teams are going to want to give up a player at this point in the season, especially if they think, hey, I'm 2-2 or I'm 1-3 and I have a shot. If I had Devontae, I'm not giving you up a piece of that puzzle. I'm going to give you a draft pick that you can use in the draft, but I need to keep my pieces on the board. And then, whoever the last man on the 53-man roster is right now is the odd man out. Like, they're not going to trade you anyone that's worth anything.
I would also look
otherwise-
at teams that have an embarrassment of riches at certain positions. Like, for example, running backs. Chicago has a lot of good running backs. So I would make a call and say, like, hey, give us Roshan Johnson, and we can make we can make some kind of a deal, right? Like
Herbert, you'd get it done with
Herbert.
Roshan. I don't think they're moving.
I think they would listen to Khalil Herbert, but then again, with the receiving room they've got right now, I don't know if they would do that. I mean, if they did that, it definitely says Keenan Allen's a 1-year guy and gone. I mean, so I'm not going to rule it out. It could happen, but no, you're right, Joe. I mean, you find a team that's going to embarrass. That's like I said earlier, like with Jacksonville, like you've got 3 tackles, and I really need offensive line. Maybe I can get a tackle and a draft pick out of it. I mean, I can see that happen.
With Jacksonville, you could trade and get Mac Jones from them.
Ew, Dookie Jones.
I mean, but
he was a first-round quarterback.
But I mean, no, I think Joe's more on point though. With it's got to be a team that's like really deep at a certain position where they feel like, look,
and it's a position of need for the Raiders.
Right.
And running back is a position of need for us. Bear Down Mike says, keep dreaming you're not getting Roshan. Like, is Roshan top 5 in the NFL in his position?
I know. See, here's the difference, though.
No,
because Adams is.
But here's the thing. Roshan is under team control for 2 more years right after this, and Herbert is not. And Herbert right now is looking like he's going to be the odd man out because his running style is too much like Swift. And if we think Swift is greater than Herbert, and we don't want to pay Herbert in the offseason for next year, he makes more sense for us to trade us to Herbert. You see what I'm saying? Than Roshan, who we've got under cheap team control.
Yeah, but Herbert doesn't move the needle for me like Roshan does.
Yeah, but we're not going to give you. We're not trying to trade Roshan. I think for the Bears, it's like,
and that's fine. But like, I think there's sort of this expectation that the Raiders are just going to get rid of Devontae for peanuts.
Now, however, you get Herbert with a draft pick. You're talking because I don't think you're going to get anything but a draft pick from most teams. The only way you're going to get a player, and we started this part of this conversation, is because you said, well, I would call up a team that has an embarrassment of riches at a position. Okay, so you have identified the Bears as a possible target because you're like, your running back room is really, really good. You've even got Velus Jones, who's showing that if they can trade a running back and still with Jones there, the Bears are going to be fine at running back, right? So, okay, which one of your running backs can I get? Well, we'll give you Herbert. Okay, well, what draft pick are you going to give me with Herbert? That's how that conversation would probably go.
Now, I'm not saying that this would happen, but shit, wouldn't it be ironic if Green Bay traded with them? We gave you back Jacobs for Adams. Send him back in, flop him. That would be interesting for a talking point, but I wouldn't want to do it.
Well, no, it wouldn't happen for so many different reasons, though. Because the
Adams to Minnesota for McCarthy would be interesting too. Like, I wasn't really high on McCarthy, but you know what? Like, he looked decent enough in the preseason that there might be something there. Like, I would consider that trade if I was the Raiders GM. I don't think Minnesota's going to consider it because they just drafted him, and I think they think he's their future. But if they're really sold on, hey, Darnold is has seems to turn the corner, like, then McCarthy's just sitting there for no reason.
Yeah, I was going to say with the way Darnold's playing, you can't move off of him yet.
But for that kind of trade, though, it's too early in the season, right? Because you're 4 games in, you're 4-0. If I'm Minnesota, I don't want to say Darnold's turned the quarterback and is going to be my guy for the next 10 years. I want to see what it's going to look like over the next 3 weeks before I would even consider making that determination. But I agree with Joe's. I don't think, even if they think that Darnold's going to be their guy for 2 years, I don't think they get rid of McCarthy. Like they wouldn't get rid of him now. He'd be more of an end of season, off season trade.
Would you not take
Well,
Arnold?
but
not
like
take
you
Darnold?
said, look at it like this. The trade deadline is November 5th. And so that gives you the 3 games to evaluate,
Yeah,
or
you do.
4 games to evaluate. And like if Darnold is still winning by then, you have a chance to load up and really go all in for the season.
But look, you also said you think he could be out of there by the end of the week or by Monday. So that's what I'm saying.
do.
That's why that won't happen with Minnesota, because they're not going to pull on JJ this week. They're not going to trade McCarthy this week because they.
But what
don't
if
know about
the
Darnold
Raiders
yet.
call Minnesota and just gauge interest, and Minnesota says, like you're saying, like, hey, we want to wait a couple of weeks, we want to see how this is going to work out. I think the Raiders would wait, like,
Maybe. I wouldn't say they wouldn't, but I mean,
Joe's got the pulse of the Raiders.
I mean, I don't look at. I'm not trying to disagree with Joe on that, but at the same time, it's kind of contradictory kind of thing. Like, well, he's gonna be gone by the week, but we'll wait 3 weeks for you, Minnesota, to figure out your quarterback situation. I mean, if there's no one else, but here's the thing, though. I think what Joe's saying is a lot more plausible if there aren't other teams interested, or if the compensation other teams are offering isn't like they're like, yeah, no, it's okay. We'll just wait and see what Minnesota. But if there's good competitive offers out there, they're not going to wait on Minnesota.
No, but at the same time, if Minnesota sees a chance to go all in, like you said, Quezzy is crazy. Like, if they get to him, like, hey, you got to make a deal. Like, what do you want to do? I don't know.
And I don't think they trade JJ for another reason. He's under a cheap rookie contract for the next 3 years after this. And at worst case scenario for them, he's a very good backup. I don't know if they make that, but I mean, look, I wouldn't rule the Vikings out.
Devontae to Minnesota makes them a Super Bowl contender with their squad that they already got. Like, how do you stop that offense, dude? Like, and their defense is good. Like, they're instant contenders, man.
I would not rule Minnesota out. There are a couple teams I just wouldn't rule out. I wouldn't rule Minnesota out. I wouldn't rule the Rams out. I wouldn't rule the Cardinals out or the Saints. I don't know if Tampa has the juice to make it happen, but that would be interesting. I don't think it's going to happen in Chicago. I don't think it's going to happen in Green Bay. I don't think it's going to happen necessarily in Detroit, rounding out the North. I don't think Carolina's in play. Carolina just needs to use their draft picks and stop giving them up. Washington is very compelling.
Washington, I think, would make the most sense from a team perspective of there's still a glaring need for another guy there in Washington, and they are a team on the rise from what it looks like from the beginning of this season. So,
look, if I'm Quezzy, though, I can offer you a first-round pick because, like Joe said, if I get him, I'm a Super Bowl contender now. So me giving you my first-round pick is what, 30, 31, 32, maybe late 20s, right? Almost basically like giving up a second round. So the Vikings might be able to say, well, look at, is their number one different than the Commanders' number 2 or, second round? Not by much, but in the media, oh my God, it was a first-round pick, right? Versus a second-round pick. So, I mean, Quezzy can give up a first-round pick, and if they become a Super Bowl contender off that first-round pick isn't necessarily great. It's better than a second-round pick by what? A couple positions, maybe? And Carolina doesn't have a second-round pick, by the way.
I was going to say, there's also the pretty much adage of how we'll constantly say at the end of the first round picks don't end up panning out, and it's almost better to have the high second round.
Vikings got 14 mil available.
Like, I would consider doing business with them.
Yeah, because they're not going to be a threat for a couple of years, so I can understand that.
Exactly. So you're going to get a high pick. But I don't know, I like the idea of talking to Minnesota and seeing if they'd be willing to come off JJ McCarthy. Because I think that they didn't expect Darnold to do as well as he did, and they kind of feel like they caught lightning in a bottle. So, you know, like McCarthy is expendable at this point.
Well, as the day goes on, good morning, Yoli. I think we're going to see a lot of rumors flying about. It'll be interesting to see if Joe's prediction comes true. If he's gone by the weekend or Monday at the latest. We'll see if he's gone by time week 6 starts. Tomorrow, of course, tomorrow will be Thursday. We'll have a game to talk about, and then we'll start looking forward to the matchups this week. Today's been the Devontae Adams hour. But look, it's interesting. There are a lot of places to keep going. Some dark horses. I think that Seattle. We haven't even mentioned Seattle. They could be a dark horse.
Yeah.
There are some dark horses, but it comes down to cap space, and where teams are at. I think there are a couple teams that we can probably rule out safely, like Carolina. Because Carolina, unless I just don't see Carolina unless it's for Young, and I don't think you want Young. So, and I don't think they want to part. And they don't have a second round pick. The Bears own it. They want to use it. I don't think Carolina is trading anyone where they have to trade draft capital these days.
Excuse me.
Yeah, Minnesota does look like they're ready to win now. Getting Adams would just put them over the top, and it helps protect with some. With
Hashtag
Adams.
it. McCarthy to Vegas. Hashtag it.
All you can eat crab like you
It's an undefeated team. Like that's the thing.
You heard them, guys. All you guys on X.
There's only been one great team, and that's 72 Dolphins. So I don't know. It's a lot of happy Minnesota fans here.
Hey, we got about 40 of you on X. Start hashtagging that one. McCarthy to the Raiders. Start hashtagging McCarthy to the Raiders. Get them going on X.
That would be huge, dude. I would be happy with that trade, and I think the Vikings would be happy with that trade too. It makes sense for both teams. Because think about it from the Vikings perspective. Like, you could cut him at the end of the year with zero dead cap. You're going to pay him $13 million for almost a whole season. You're going all in, and you have the chance to restructure with him. But even if he doesn't restructure, I mean, you paid $13 million to take a run at a Super Bowl. And this is, I mean, roster-wise, this is the closest you've been in a while, dude. Like, so it makes perfect sense for them.
Man,
he going to an underdog.
I can tell you, if he did end up going to the Vikings, that there'd be a nice caravan from Green Bay heading up for him.
But you have to forget though, like, what did the Vikings get for him? Raiders would want to play, right? Like,
yeah, I said, JJ McCarthy, dude.
For him, right?
JJ McCarthy.
See, I don't know. I don't know about that. I like Joe's input.
I honestly think the Raiders are going to get nothing but draft capital in a trade.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to give up a rookie QB.
Unless they go like Joe said to a team like, hey, Chicago, you've got a full running back room. Look, our asking price is a second rounder, but if you give us a little Herbert and a third rounder, that might suffice. Like, I could see something, a situation where it's going to lessen the draft situation for a player in a position of need for the Raiders and a team that has an abundance of that position. That's the only way I see a player being involved in a trade for Devontae, to be honest. Because everyone else wants to keep their pieces, or why make the trade?
Well, you have to look for players that are expendable, like, right. And that's the thing is, like, to me, McCarthy, with the way that Darnold is playing, McCarthy could be expendable. You haven't really seen him play, so you don't know what he is. And I think the Raiders could use that fact. Like, we don't know what he is. We're taking a risk. We're giving you a proven player for a guy who's not proven.
And on that, on that terrible take about J.J. McCarthy going to the Raiders, we'll see y'all tomorrow. Don't forget House Hall Report tonight, 7 p.m. Central, followed by JV's Roundtable at 8 Central. We'll see y'all tonight. Have a good day.
Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire Stick TV, Facebook, and YouTube. Get all your sports news here first. The daily podcasts are Ken and Ken in the Morning, Lions Talk with Smoking Jeremy B, Wrestling Roundup, The Big Football Show, and more, Shield TV, Lions Villain Report, and Red Zone Rant. The afternoon podcasts are Valhalla, Grosef Sports, WCFL Dolphins Talk, The Cheap Seats, The Bodkin Show, Spirit of Detroit Podcast, and Maniacs. The nightly podcasts are Palace Hall Report, Frozen Tundra Network, Skull Gang 3,